Well, this is a very exciting live because we get to really announce something for the first time, which is the release of the Doman Baby course. This is something which has been long awaited by parents all around the world. Ever since we launched Doman Learning, parents have been contacting us and saying, why don't you have a course for babies up to 6 months of age? How am I supposed to know what to do with my baby before I can start teaching them reading and math, which are outlined in your books and in your Doman Learning courses? Well, we're excited to say now we have the answers to all of those parents' questions, which is with the Doman Baby course. The Doman Baby course has been the product of a year-long project of myself and the rest of the Doman family. And so this question and answer session is specifically to talk about babies. And I think that this is important, not just for those of you who have infants up to 6 months of age, but those of you who have or are expecting children in the future or are expecting to expect in the future. The information in the Doman Baby course, in my opinion, should be known by every parent around the world before their baby is born. So welcome to this Q&A. We're very, very excited. If you have any questions about early learning and baby development, feel free to post them in the comments. Whether you're joining me right now on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, go ahead and post your questions and I will get to them. And maybe as I go through some of my explanations about what's in the Doman Baby course and why it's special, you'll have questions occur to you. I am sharing the link for the Doman Baby course, and I'll be posting it in the comments as well. So if you're watching this right now on Facebook or Instagram, you should see the link there. And by the way, if you want to click on that link and come back and ask me questions about what you see, please feel free to do so. Okay, now let me just cover a few things about what the Doman Baby course is, who it's for, why it's important, and so on. So first of all, the Doman Baby course is really for three groups of people. First, it's for expecting parents who want to know how to start their child's life in as strong a way as possible. So for expecting parents. Second, it's for parents of infants who are, somewhere between birth and 6 months of age, who want to know what stimulation they can do to give their child the best head start possible. And third, it's for parents who want to get their child ready for Doman reading and Doman math as early as possible. As most parents know, most children aren't really ready for the Doman reading and math programs until they're 6 months of age or later, because their vision and hearing isn't good enough yet for them to learn how to read or do math. The great thing about the Doman Baby course is it actually gets children ready for those programs earlier because of the stimulation that you learn to do in it. Now, let me tell you for a second about who are the teachers in the Doman Baby course. Well, yours truly, myself, I'm one of the teachers. I teach the classes on sensory development. Like, what should parents do to help a child see, hear, and feel as best as possible in those first months of life? When a baby is born, they're essentially functionally blind, deaf, and insensate, right? They come into a scary world where they can't see, hear, or feel well. And as you can imagine, that's very frightening. And so helping a child see, hear, and feel, first of all, it makes the child happier, makes them more confident, makes them more interactive with the world around them. So those are the classes that I teach. How do you stimulate a child's sight, hearing, and feeling? But it's also taught by my parents, Douglas and Rosalind Doman, who are experts in mobility development. They've been teaching parents about mobility development for the last 45 years. Also, as parents, they utilized all of these programs with their own children, including myself and my three siblings. So they've been through it. They're experts. And so they teach you in this course how to do those mobility exercises, how to do manual exercises to help a child, develop manual skills, fine motor skills as early as possible. So we are the three principal teachers. All of us were directly trained by Glenn Doman. And I like to say that because there are a lot of Glenn Doman websites out there created by people who never learned directly from the man himself. And that's a big part of what we bring to the table. just to let everyone know, the Doman Baby course, we have purposefully priced this to be available to basically every parent in the world. The course is priced at $79 currently. That's for lifetime access. That includes all the classes, all the downloadable materials, all of our recommended equipment. We provide all of that information to you so you know what to source and to get for your child. All of that's $79. The regular price would be $179, but we're offering it at $79. So, please be aware of that. The course also includes a 14-day money-back guarantee. So if at any point in the first 2 weeks you're like, nope, this isn't for me, I don't care about this stuff, we'll give you all your money back. Because at Doman Learning, we are passionate about what we teach. And we're also passionate about parents doing what they think is best for their children. So if a parent sees what we have to teach and they're like, nope, this early stimulation stuff isn't for us, fine, we'll give you the money back. So it's a 14-day money back guarantee. Now, and by the way, I just want to say, the reason why we have a 14-day money-back guarantee and not a lifetime money-back guarantee is just because we want parents to watch the videos before they decide if it's the right thing for them or not. So that's why we limit the time. We want you to watch the videos. So if there are any skeptics out there, we think once they watch the videos, they will be converts. Now, what do we cover in the course? Speech development. What are activities you can start right now with an infant baby literally born yesterday or even today that can help them develop their first words as quickly as possible? That's covered in the course. How do you get an immobile child moving for the first time? Get them crawling, right? Which is the most important milestone to help a child move. Many parents aren't aware that if a child isn't creeping on their hands and knees by 9 months of age, statistically, that child is much more likely to be diagnosed with a cognitive or developmental delay. So mobility development is essential for cognitive development. We teach you how do you get a child moving in the first months of life. What can you do for balance development? So important to help a child take their first steps, learn how to run in the future. What do you do for visual development to help your child see details, see pictures, see your face, right? When children are born, they can't see well. So what do we teach you what to do for visual development, for auditory development, for tactile development. Sensory stimulation is an important part of this program. The sensory pathways are highways into the brain, right? So they're carrying information through our eyes, our ears, our hands to the brain. And that's how we learn from our environment. Our ability to learn is based on our sensory abilities. So by stimulating those sensory abilities early with a baby, we help them become learners earlier. And so that's a big part of our program. Also, we give you an easy daily routine to do with your newborn baby. And by the way, we have found that babies who grow up in our program are happier babies. They sleep better. They have better moods, right? Because from the moment they're born, they're getting stimulation, which kids love. They're getting opportunities to move. And so that child is a happier child. And just an important thing to note there. And I like to tell a story. I rarely tell this story, but it had an impact on me, where I was talking to a dad once, and he had come and attended one of our live courses, which we don't do anymore. Our courses are all online. But he had come to our live course, and he said, Spencer, when I held my newborn baby in my hands for the first time, I had two incredible feelings. The first was that love for the child, which I had been told that I would feel, but I didn't really understand it until I held that child in my hands, like an immense love. And then he said the other feeling, which I didn't expect, was dread, a fear of, oh, this is a human being and I'm responsible for helping them live a happy, confident, successful life, and I don't know what I'm doing. Now, that dad didn't know what he was doing, but he was scared that he didn't know what he was doing. And so he said, and that's what led me, that fear led me to find you all and learn about this baby stimulation for my baby. And he was like, from then I knew what to do with my baby all day, every day. It wasn't a thought of, oh no, what do I do with my child? It's, I've got a plan. So that's a part of the entire Doman Baby course, giving parents a plan. Now, the people who have helped me with this course have put in the notes here that it's important for me to share my favorite baby activity from the course. I love all the baby activities in this course. But if I had to pick one, like if I had a newborn baby and I could only do one, I would do the visual stimulation activities because now, by the way, if you ask my parents, Douglas and Rosalind, they would probably say the mobility, the crawling activities, because that's their area of expertise. But for me, humans are visual learners. And I've always thought that for a newborn baby, how intense it must be. You enter the world and you really can't see. You know, who are these people around you? All you see are kind of gray figures moving around. That must be scary. And so I feel that providing a child with visual stimulation, like black and white picture cards, following a light in a dark room with a flashlight. These are some of the activities we teach in the course. Get that child see as quickly as possible. They're going to be happier and more engaged, and they're going to learn faster. So those visual activities are my personal favorite. Why do a Doman Baby program? What's the point in the end of all of it, right? Sometimes people will ask us, like, what is all of this with the stimulating baby? Just let them develop, just let them grow. You know, that's a philosophy. That's, I think, probably how most parents think, you know, yeah, okay, maybe let the child develop, see what happens. You know, baby development on its own is a kind of miracle if you think about it. So why stimulate a child? Why provide them with stimulation in those early months of life? Well, first of all, the earlier you can start with brain stimulation, the more effective it's going to be. Because as most people know, 90% of brain development occurs in the first 6 years of life. But those first 6 months are just an incredible period where the brain cells are making those interconnections, right? And the baby is learning at an incredible rate, right? We all know young children learn languages much faster, for example, than adults. The human brain during that first year of life is basically scanning the environment to figure out, what do I need to learn from this environment? So it is the most critical period for brain development. And so I would say that's why I would, with my baby, why babies in the Doman family, why babies of children around the world raised with this method are stimulated from birth, because it is the most important period of brain growth and development. And really, if you can get a child started with reaching those essential milestones early, not only will that help that child succeed in life, succeed in school, succeed in sports, make them confident, curious children, it will also avoid the potential of them being delayed in their development. And many parents have come to us and said, you know, my baby was born 3 months premature, and doctors told me they would probably, you know, be delayed in their development and not be like other kids and have developmental issues. And I did the Doman Baby program, and I don't think my child ever had issues because we did that early stimulation. And what we always say to that is, well, we'll never know. We'll never know if the Doman Baby stimulation avoided those delayed milestones, but that's a good thing that we'll never know, because that child is succeeding in life. So I think that's another important reason for doing the Doman Baby program. So I want to get to questions now, because I'm sure many of you have questions. I think I've already started to see some appear in the chat. So I will get to them now. And I see that we have a good question here from Allison, who's joining us on YouTube. Allison says, what is the best way to help your child speak clearly? My child is 26 months old and he is talking a lot, but many times we have a hard time understanding what he is trying to say. Well, Allison, you know, I'll probably answer your question briefly, because I am trying to focus in this Q&A specifically on baby stimulation and the early months of life. One of the activities we teach in the course, by the way, we posted a video pretty recently on our Instagram and Facebook page, if you want to go back, about how to use songs and rhymes to develop speech development. And because what we will often do, children love songs. And so what we'll often do with a child is sing a child a song, and then we'll start to leave out a word for the child to fill in, right? So we use the example of happy birthday to you. So like the last line of happy birthday to you is happy birthday to you, right? So after we would sing that song to the child maybe 3 times in a day for 3 days, we would start to leave that last word for the child to fill in. So like happy birthday to, and we leave a blank word there for the child to fill in. And we do this activity with children even when they're babies. And I've seen children as young as 4 weeks of age filling in the word. It's pretty amazing stuff, because the parent has taught them the song and then leaves the word for them to say. Now, for a 26-month-old child, you could do that with longer stretches where you have them sing entire lines of songs, as an example. And that could be a good way of developing language. Allison, 2 other quick thoughts. With a 2-year-old child, it is pretty common for children at that age to talk a lot, but articulation not be completely clear. Okay. So one of the best things you can do at that age is mobility activities. Like bring your child out every day for walks, and also encourage running if possible. I actually had a member of my own family who had a 18-month-old child, and they went to my mom, who's like the mobility expert, but has a lot of years of experience raising kids. And they said, I'm really worried about my son. Speech isn't maybe developing as much as we'd want. And she said, all I want you to do is take him out every day for a 20-minute walk to develop his respiratory system, which is so important for speech. Breathing is so important for speech. And literally within 2 weeks, they reported back to my mom, wow, he's saying so many more words. His speech has become clearer. I saw this child recently. He's 2.5 years old now, and his speech is super clear. So I would say mobility activities, Allison. And that's why with the Doman Baby course, we really encourage parents not just to do those speech activities, but also do the mobility exercises from birth. Because when we develop that breathing system, that respiratory system, we find the child is able to speak more and speak more clearly early on. All right, everyone, just for everyone joining late, I'm announcing today the launch of our Doman Baby course for expecting parents, parents of infants with babies from birth to 6 months of age. If you have any questions about baby early learning or development, feel free to post them. All right, we've got a question here from Priya, who says, my son is 4 months old. How can I tell if he's on track to hit milestones? Okay, good question. So in the Doman Baby course, Priya, we actually lay out what are the milestones you're trying to hit in the first 6 months of life in vision, hearing, so vision, hearing, tactility, which is feeling, mobility, movement, language, and manual competence, manual ability, right? Those 6 areas are the most important areas of brain development. Seeing, hearing, and feeling are the sensory pathways. That's how a baby learns from the world around them. Everything you've ever learned in your life, you learn through those 5 sensory pathways. Just like Albert Einstein learned everything through those pathways, right? Your baby learns the same way. So a 4-month-old baby, just to give you an example, we would want a 4-month-old baby starting to see detail. That means recognizing mom and dad's face. If you smile to the baby should smile back. In terms of mobility, we would want that baby crawling on their belly on the flat floor, making movement on the flat floor. In terms of hearing, we would want that child, if there are different sounds in their environment, like if you played a bell or you had a whistle, right, or a rattle, your child should hear that sound and turn toward it. So what we do in the Doman Baby course is we lay out what those milestones are in the first 6 months of life that you want to be checking for, right? And I do have to say one important thing here. A lot of the milestones that are checked for by pediatricians, for example, are not the most important milestones. Like parents are often asked, is your child sitting? Sitting is okay, but sitting by itself, first of all, is not a movement, right? It's actually a static position. And what we know is that the brain develops by movement, not staying in one place. So it's much more important for a child to learn how to crawl on their belly and creep on their hands and knees. Far more important for brain development than sitting. So a lot of the milestones that parents are told to check for are actually not the important ones to be looking out for. And we see this very often. Parents will come to us with children with development, and they'll say, "I was told to focus on my child rolling over and sitting, and now you're telling me I should have been focusing on crawling on the belly and creeping on the hands and knees." Time wasted. And parents are very frustrated by that feeling. So yeah, we tell you, Priya, in the Doman Baby course, what are the milestones we're looking for, and then what to stimulate to help a child develop in those areas. We would never teach a parent what to look for and then not teach them how to stimulate for that. That's the whole purpose of the program. Okay. Allison is asking, would the Doman Baby course help older kids too? No, not the Doman Baby course, Allison. It really is focused on the first 6 months of life. For an older child, we would recommend our reading before school course. We would recommend our math before school course. Those are other Doman learning courses that you can look into. And so, I shared before the link for the Doman Baby course, but if you just go to domanlearning.com, you can look at our other courses, Allison, and see if there are other ones that you feel would be helpful. Allison, also feel free to reach out to us at hello@domanlearning.com. Because if you wanted, my brother Noah, and this is really something for everyone out there, my brother Noah is happy to jump on a call with you and hear about your child and kind of recommend what might be the best courses for your child. So if you're interested, shoot an email to hello@domanlearning.com, and he'll be happy to jump on a call with you and just talk it through. It's a free call, no pressure. It's just a matter of learning what are your goals for your child and then telling you what might be the best path. Hope that helps. All right, I've got another question here. This is on Instagram from Neuro Desarrollo, who says, "Hi, Spencer. I know this is for little babies, but what can we do about sensory integration in older kids with special needs? My boy is 3 years old and Down syndrome and is having these issues." So for children with developmental issues, in the book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness, we do lay out many of the same activities that we talk about in the Doman Baby course. The funny thing is, so many of the programs that we use with babies, we learn from working with children with developmental delays. If you think about it, if you're working with a child with a developmental delay and you can help that child speed up and catch up to their peers using certain kinds of stimulation, then it's pretty maybe obvious, or maybe it's not obvious. You could use those same activities with a newborn baby to help them get those abilities faster. So everything we've learned about babies, we've learned not just by working with young children, but also working with children with developmental delays. That's how our whole work began. So yeah, I would recommend for a child with developmental issues, and this goes back to a question, we got a question earlier about a child maybe with some speech issues. I would recommend the book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness, because in that book, we do have activities in there about sensory stimulation, for example, and other things that can be done with older children. All right, let's see what other questions we've got here. Oh, I've got here a link from my brother Noah that I'm putting into the comments. If you want to schedule a call with him. So you can see there's like a Calendly link. If you click on that link, you'll see Noah's schedule, book a time. The times that are available will be in your time zone. So just pick a good time for you. And once you hit confirm, you and Noah will both be sent video chat links, and you can do a call with him. He's a pretty good guy. Okay. Let's see here. Everyone, we've got 3 more minutes left. So if you want to post any other questions about babies or early learning, please do so. All right, we've got a question here from Sam. Sam says, I'm due very soon. Is there anything I can do now to prepare for the first months of life? Yes. Yes, Sam. There's a lot you can do. And by the way, I will say, sometimes parents will ask me, for a course like the Doman Baby course, should you take it now while you're pregnant or wait until the baby is born? If you're expecting, take the course now, because when the baby is born, no matter how much reading you've done about what it's like to have an infant baby, it's always going to be a surprise how much work goes into it, how tired you are. Okay. Very important that especially moms get the sleep that they need after the baby is born. Even if we look at things like statistics with postpartum depression, we know if a mother is chronically sleep deprived, the rates of that depression go up greatly. So moms have to take care of themselves. So do dads, but moms, especially after all of the work that goes into labor and delivery, need to get rest. So for a mom who's expecting, I would say take the Doman Baby course now. First of all, one of my favorite things is that sometimes expecting parents will tell us when they learn about our baby stimulation programs, they feel calmer about the baby arriving. They're like, all right, we've got a plan now. We don't have to worry as much. So that's nice. There's like a psychological effect of, okay, I can be calmer now while I wait for the baby. Or sometimes they say, I'm more excited now. It's like a positive thing. I was nervous. Now I'm excited. So I would definitely, Sam, do the course now before the baby arrives. So that way, when the baby arrives, you've got everything in place that you need. All right. Let's see if we've got any other questions. All right. Penny is asking, does this course help prevent W sitting? I have a 1-year-old that sits like that all the time, even though I made sure he crawled and crept a lot, and I want my next baby to end up sitting normally. Really good question, Penny. So W sitting, for everyone who doesn't know, is where a child basically sits back on their legs. And W sitting is problematic. W sitting for a few reasons. First of all, it's not good for the health of the hips, the knees, or the ankle joints, because the child sits back and basically their feet either flay in or flay out. That's not good for the ankles. It puts the knees and the hips at an abnormal position. So, and I would like to say, Penny, I'm sure you already do this. If you have a child who's constantly sitting in that position, every time you see it, you've just got to make it a rule with them to tell them, no, we don't sit like that. Bring your legs around. We sit normally, because you really do want to protect those joints. Now, would this program 100% prevent W sitting? Not necessarily, but that being said, Penny, we rarely have children that grow up on our program, like learning how to crawl on their bellies as newborn babies, creeping on their hands and knees, walking. Usually the children that grow up on our program hit those milestones earlier, and usually they don't W sit. I mean, literally, I can probably count on my hands in 20 years how often I've seen that. So, and so now, of course, I would also say that our parents are often aware of W sitting from birth, and so they do what they can to prevent it. So, so I think this is a very good question, Penny. And yeah, I think that probably you just being on the lookout for this, because you've seen it with your older child, most likely it won't be something you'll have to face with your younger child. Penny, I also, not knowing much about your child, I would ask, does your child have any other motor development issues, any balance issues, walking issues? Because, so I always like to ask that when I hear about W sitting. All right, let me see. All right, everyone, I think we are all out of time. Let me just tell you a couple of last things about the Doman Baby course. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. It means a lot. I'm going to share again the link on the screen for the Doman Baby course. Okay, so domanlearning.com/Doman-baby-course. You can click on that link, check out the website. Oh, and another thing that I was told that I need to say is that the first class is actually available for free. So if you're like, don't know if I want to separate with $79 before I know what I'm getting myself into, you can watch the first class for free. Now, I don't know how long that's going to be up for, how long the first class is going to be free for, but for the time being, it is. So check out that first class and you'll get a sense of like what we're going to be covering in the course. As I said, the price for the time being is $79. I don't know how long we're going to keep that price for, but we wanted to make it accessible for any parent who wants it. Everyone, thank you so much for joining this live stream. We do monthly live streams here at Doman Learning if you want to keep joining. All right. And for all of you who are going to be taking the Doman Baby course, enjoy. You're going to love it. All right, everyone. Have a really good rest of your week. Bye-bye.